What's going on, everyone? So, when they made the announcement for this upcoming Scream 7, one of the things that they talked about was that this would be the scariest, kind of most dark Ghostface yet. And me personally, I'm all for it. One of the things that I've actually really liked about Scream 5 and 6 has been the type of Ghostface we've got, right? Ghostface previously has always been kind of a little clumsy, a little lackadaisical at times, right? I mean, that's why scary movies so spot on. Where it's like, oh man, I should have quit drinking, right? Like, it just they kind of made fun of like Ghostface stumbling over themselves or like missing people and all that stuff, right? Where you saw Scream 5 was just brutal, in and out, no games, right? All the kills, all the attacks were these sneak attacks, where just Ghostface just snuck up behind the person and killed them. Think of like Vince and Dewey and Judy and even Wes and all that, right? And it's why it made sense that Amber was the killer, right? Because if she's out here wrestling and squaring up and against these grown adults, and she's just this 5 foot, 100 pound girl, like it's probably not happening, right? Like, but the fact that she was able to just kind of get in and get out, right? It made sense. It fit the point, right? But I like the dark undertones of that. I like that Ghostface was just brutal, was no nonsense, didn't play games. And then you look at Scream 6, which again was much more tactical, brutal, dark, didn't play games, outside of like the ladder scene. Also didn't kill anybody really. But nonetheless, I think, and I said this, if you took the militant tactical Ghostface we saw in Scream 6 and kind of marry that with the just brutal, no nonsense Ghostface of Scream 5, I think you'd have a perfect Ghostface. Like, genuinely, I think you'd have a Ghostface that's like, wow, like this would be great. And so that's kind of my hope, that we kind of get a version of both of those combined, that you kind of get this dark, brutal Ghostface that is very tactical and militant, right? And especially in today's world, right? It makes more sense. Like, you look at martial arts, for example, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, right? Like, you have, MMA is just such a huge thing, the UFC and all that stuff. A lot of people train now, more than probably ever, right? Like, so you kind of have that out of like somebody that just, done a lot of training. They get surprised attacked. They're able to get them to the ground, kind of wrap them up, and boom, 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 and it's over, right? Like, you can do some cool things, do some creative type kills. But one of the things that I want to kind of talk about, and of course pose to you all, so let me know down in the comments, is, can Ghostface be too brutal and too dark, right? Is there a version of this where Ghostface is just too dark for the general audience? Now, for me, I don't think so. I think the more brutal, the more dark, the better, right? Because again, this is a horror franchise and a slasher film, right? Like, this isn't supposed to be sunshines and rainbows. It's supposed to be people brutally dying. Now, the one thing I don't want is I don't want over the top blood and gore and all that stuff just for over the top blood and gore, right? Terrifier, for example. I love those films, right? But it is this like gore blood fest. But that's what Terrifier is, right? So it's fine. It fits that. It's not really what Scream is, right? I'm okay if you want to kind of amp the blood total up, given that, people are getting stabbed, right? Getting pokey poke, right? So I'm okay if you want to kind of amp it up a little bit. I just don't want buckets and buckets and buckets of blood just to have buckets and buckets and buckets of blood, right? Like, when I say I'm okay and I don't think that there's a too dark or brutal Ghostface is, again, if Ghostface is just kind of running through people and racking up a body count and just not playing games, like, I'm okay with that. If Ghostface kind of, cutting Achilles and, messing with people and just knows, like, I got you dead to rights, right? Like, I'm okay with a little, teasing, a little just kind of menacing, right? Like, that is fine for me. But also I understand that a lot of people like kind of the kind of clumsy sense. Now, for Billy and Stu, I thought it works, right? Because they're high school kids, right? They're not these trained killers and assassins and militant right killers, right? Like, they're just these kids that decided, hey, this is what we're gonna do type thing, right? So To me, it made more sense that Ghostface was a little clumsy, especially Stu, right? But as it got forward and went on, and it started to become grown men, right? Like Mickey is I thought Mickey was like everything you want from a killer. He was big, burly, menacing, like looked, right? He was crazy, right? Like he just was insane. I mean, so much so. I mean, even Debbie Salt, right? Mrs. Loomis was like, like, can you hear that? Like, the guy's off his rocker. That guy's crazy. Like, but that's what I love. Like, I'm okay with that. Right? I'm okay with having a ghost face that's just insane. Right? Because, I mean, to do something like that, you have to be. Right? Like, the average person doesn't run around doing stuff like that. Right? Usually, like, in real life, when you see those kinds of things, those people are crazy. Right? Those people are just like, there's something not there. Right? And that's kind of what I'm okay with. But again, I understand that not everyone wants this like over the top brutal ghost face. But I just personally, I default to, again, it's a horror slasher franchise. It's supposed to be like, you're supposed to, have people getting poked and, and also Scream has always been dark and brutal, right? Like you look back at 96, for the time, like today's standards, that's light work, right? Today's standards, that's like there's PG movies that have more going on than that, right? But, for the time in 1996, that was great. Like they had to cut like half of the opening scene with, Drew Barrymore, Casey Becker. Like they had to cut like half of it just to make it not get like an X rating or anything like that. They had to like, it was just too brutal for that time, right? So Scream has always had this brutality. Scream 4 was the one that I thought really kind of ramped it up and geared it up, right? And kind of started the move into what we got with Scream 5 and Scream 6 about just the darker, more brutal Ghostface. But I want that. I'm okay with that. I actually think that that's the best approach for this, right? However you felt about Scream 5 and 6, look, I've had my criticisms. I've been very critical of those two films, but like that's one of the things that I thought they got right. That was one of the things that I was like, okay, this was a nice, kind of shift and change, kind of kept the trend, and it fits the past, right? Like, for example, Randy and his rules. After Scream 3, the rules changed. And they've kind of incorporated that. I like that, personally. I think that that's the better approach. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Kind of mixed in the middle? Do you think like, yes, the darker, the better for Ghostface? Do you think absolutely not? Like, you don't want to get it too over the top. Keep it a little more lighthearted. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Either way, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.